Thanks for staying with us. So joining us on the show now is the presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, Prince Malik Ado-Ibrahim. He's one of Nigeria's biggest exports, currently putting his motherland on world map with his brilliancy and uncommon wizardry. He will be discussing his presidential bid and why he wants to become Nigeria's next president. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. So the first question anybody would ask you is, why do you want to become president?
Well, apart from it being my constitutional right to try to do this, I think the most important thing is that I just see some lackluster leadership that's out there and available to us. And I'm really trying to do some things differently and try to be a bit more of a modern ruler rather than the traditional old school leaders that we have.
So, sir, we'd like to know some of your antecedents. You know, right now, everybody's looking for that Nigerian who has done something, who has a good track record. Can you tell us some of the things you've done that qualifies you for this position?
I think right now, the position I'm in is that the type of leadership we need is one that focuses on some of the things I'm good at. As far as governance is concerned, I've worked at United Nations for about 4.5 years as an Under-Secretary for Renewable Energy. That's working with 155 countries. My expertise is in two fields, security and power. And I have a very strong background, especially in renewable energy. And I think that what Nigeria really needs to do now is reset itself. We need to get things right. We need to focus on the things that really get Nigeria back. And those are issues where I think that no other presidential candidate at this point in time has. A very strong military background, a very strong power building background globally. And I'm very proud of that. And it's something that I believe that Nigeria will benefit from. Because I'm still one of the world leaders in the renewable energy sector. And I think that in a country where we're blessed with sunshine and a lot of natural resources, we can bring some of those things into the fore. And I'm really confident that Nigerians will gravitate to the way I'm thinking. And security is a big issue. It's something that I've been at the forefront of locally and internationally. I build military systems. I do a lot of advisory work. And I'm very comfortable that over the next very short period of time, Nigerians will be able to see what I've done and how other countries have worked with me in developing at least the strength of security. And that's why I'm very good at.
Okay, sir. I hear you, and I hear a lot of what we call in Nigeria, phone. And to a large extent, the majority of the population you seek to lead don't have that, they won't connect to your accent. Like, you speak so well, and that on its own would be a reason people would not just want to listen. How do you intend to connect with the grassroots, with the majority of Nigerians that you probably haven't spent a lot of time with, to know how the shoe pinches them and be able to prefer solutions to them?
Well, a man must not be judged by the way he sounds. I think it's the content of his heart and his mind. But I'm quite proficient in different languages. I speak 8 different languages. My accent just happens to be one that reflects where I was educated. But going to the grassroots, I mean, we've had 30-odd years of repeated promises that haven't been engaged with or delivered on. And I'm just not sure that the young people of Nigeria are ready for another round of, it's my turn, or people who have done things and really haven't done things. And the only thing any politician can say today is that I've been a politician. If a man is telling you that he wants to run for an office and if he hasn't balanced the budget, don't be surprised when he gets into office and he doesn't balance the budget. We need to be on performance. And I think that what I want to be able to do is take this to the grassroots. Look, it's very difficult to come from a private sector and open yourself, expose yourself to ridicule and conversation and dinner at breakfast table conversations. But this is my country too, and I just see so much that I do outside that I can do at home. And it's not just about that. There's some really fundamental things that I think grassroots people can understand. I build things in Nigeria. I'm not somebody who's branded himself and I'm this and I'm that, but you can go from Ibokoda in Ondo State to Mayobelwa in Adamawa State or in my own state. I build things, I put power systems in, non-government interference, private sector driven. I put, for instance, 80% of the power that goes into the Northeast, I've put on one particular industrial estate in 3 months. 80%, that's 5 megawatts compared to the 7 megawatts.
So
amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Why the Youth Progressive Party? You know, if you're being realistic about how politics is done here, you'll be in one of the major parties. And with your resume, I'd think you had your basis or maybe past in any of the parties. Why the Young Progressive Party? And were you in any other party? Did you leave those major parties?
No, I've never been in politics before. I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman, and I believe that when you try to come into these old, drawn-out parties that feel that they can run Nigeria, you end up starting at the bottom. If you have great ideas, they never get to come to fruition. You have to kind of wait till you're 70 years old again, and then you're too old. I believe the younger leadership that a Young Progressives Party allows me and other Nigerians that want their voices to be heard. It's the place to be. We're a young nation. We have a lot of young people. It might be a long shot to a lot of people, but nobody can play God. We don't know what's going to happen. You only have to look at Liz Truss or she's there for 45 days, probably thought, wow, I've got this job and didn't last long. Or Donald Trump, a businessman that came in, not a politician, and he did a very good job in the US. He might be a little bit warped, but he did get in there and do some good things. And I'm fed up of complaining and trying to sort of barter my way into leadership. And I believe that you need your voices to be heard. It's not just me, quite a few Nigerians, I think, are feeling the same way. And I'm very comfortable with my decision. We need to shake, even if the other parties are going to do well, they've got to get past people like me and prove themselves. We don't have an opposition party in Nigeria. If something goes wrong, nobody brings government to task. Young people need to be able to bring government to task. We need to tell them that they're wrong. We need to tell them that you need to build that dam after 40 years instead of continually killing people. It's things like that I'm very comfortable with.
Let me go on a break for a second. When I come back, we'll dig further into exactly what you plan to do. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest. Sir, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
So one of the greatest issues we have right now in today's government is the fact that government says they don't have money. They raised about 9 billion of dollars, I can't remember the figure exactly, for next year's budget, and they're still looking for 10-point-something trillion deficit. And the issue they're saying right now is they're trying to raise funds locally, the domestic revenue, and they're also trying to increase taxes or use all the various apparatus they have within government to raise funds within the country. If you become president, how do you expect to increase our revenue generation, number one? And number two, how do you intend to tackle insecurity?
Well, one of the most important things that we need to learn from the budgets for the last 10 years or so is the size of government is enormous. Nigerians should be very upset. I mean, if you look at the simple fact that 70% of our national budget goes towards feeding 1 million people. 70% of the national budget is there to service government only. That's 1 million people out of 216 million people. 70% of the budget, I mean, that's criminal. Reduce the size of government, first of all, and that would even free up a lot of money. Selling government assets doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. Nigeria should not be selling its assets. It should be remanaging its assets, finding the right kind of people. If you go to any foreign country that wants to, that really values itself, it brings in expertise, not necessarily its locals. Look at what's happening to NNPC. The subsidies have been put in place, 18 billion naira a day. I mean, the number is ridiculous. We just don't have an opposition that is challenging government, saying, how can we be using 70 million liters or some ridiculous amount of fuel every year when the number is actually around 28 to 30? And we're exporting this to our neighboring countries. There's a grand theft of Nigeria going on, and that money should be brought back. I mean, a president like myself, because I have no allegiance to anybody, and because YPP is not there, been in power for a long time, I would go for revenue restitution. There's a lot of theft going on in this country, and basically, with all due respect, I would lock people up until they put that money back. Nigeria has been stolen from us, and you need somebody who understands what's going on. An economist will do this. You cannot expect us to keep taking our national resources and giving a few and let the many suffer.
Right.
How can you sell a national asset like NNPC? The people who took those subsidy funds have just returned it back into the country and are buying an asset that looks like it's moribund. It's madness. I mean, this whole subsidy issue is a theft that needs to be looked into. So that's one. CBN's exchange rate. I mean, why would anybody who's got a brain in their head take dollar at 400 when the black market is at 750 and go and trade with it and expect that within a year I'll return that money, and with all the struggles of export and import and the ports being closed and insecurity? I mean, a smart person would take that money and round trip it 4 or 5 times. You can't do that. We need a single exchange rate. This will really stabilize the economy completely. It's madness that we do these sort of things, and it's just for a few people to enjoy the riches of this country, and it needs to stop. And it's politics.
So I hear you, and I understand the fact that it's always seemed easy to know the solution when you're not in the system. I remember our current administration promised everything promisable before they got into power. They told us they were going to reduce the cost of dollars, they were going to do all the roads, petrol will be so, and so. And when they got into power, the first 4 years the situation was really bad. The economy is really bad. We had no idea how terrible the situation is. There was a lot of excuses even till now. How prepared are you, in terms of understanding of how serious the challenges are? And what would be your top 3 areas to deal with if you do become president?
Well, when I do become president, I think the most important thing is to get Nigerians to buy into the kind of leadership style that I would want to have. As a businessman, I consider myself a chief executive officer, and I'd want to be the CEO of Nigeria. I'm not looking to be a politician, because what delays you, what hampers progress is when you are horse trading for political gain. Somebody needs to take Nigeria seriously and understand that, look, we have an incredible opportunity to be a world leader, but raping this country of its resources and its value is just not the right way to go. We took 8 months to find ministers in 2015. They were not prepared. When you prepare yourself for leadership, you must prepare with all the eventualities in your mind. And yes, you can make promises, but you know what? If they've not done it before, what makes you think they're going to do it when they get there? If they haven't built power stations, what makes you think they're going to give you power? If they've not been in the modern military system, what makes you think they're going to understand what security is? If they've never had a business, how do you provide jobs? We take a lot of things for granted. We expect government to do things for us. But it's about time we started finding leaders that want to do things for the people, to serve the people. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very convinced that a YPP-led Malik Ado-Ibrahim administration would be there to serve the people, because we just don't have any kind of allegiance politically. We would fight the system.
Right.
It may not be very popular, but the results would be great.
Let me get a few more questions in for you. Sir.
Yes, sir. So there's a message on YouTube that says, this man is even too gentle for Nigeria. You're soft-spoken, and you have the idea that Nigeria needs a very tough person to handle it. But my question is, the way the system has been designed is designed to frustrate any idea that does not come from the system. Now I'm talking about the cabals, and we cannot pretend like we do not have the people who believe that they own Nigeria. If you get into power, have you envisaged that these people may want to sabotage you, and what is the plan to stay above and do your job?
You know, I have a friend of mine who became a leader in his country. I'll try not to mention the names. But as soon as he got in, he locked up all those that he knew and was just knew, had really betrayed the country and stolen. He was able to get $100 billion back. You know, I speak softly, but I carry a big stick. I wasn't in the military sector because I was a weakling. Shouting doesn't get you anywhere. Doing is what counts. So there's a time to talk and there's a time for action. And as it says in the Bible, you know, there's a time for everything. So I'm not worried about luring people into feeling comfortable. I'm quite familiar with what I need to do to change the environment, and I intend to do so. So help me God. It's not. This is not for a few. The cabal is cabal by name. You let them rule. Once you're president of this country, you have the power to do the things you need to do for the people. It's not about vengeance. That's why I said restitution. I would go after everybody that has money, pay the money back. If not, I would use the full extent of the law and of course, within the human rights. But I'd still do my job. If I get sworn in, I get sworn in to do a job. And I've always done that.
Okay, so I'd like to test what your cabinet will be like. Who is your running mate, and you know what's his pedigree, and what would your cabinet look like? Yes.
Hello, sir. Are you there?
Oh,
Hello, sir.
Well, I'm running mate. He's unlucky because he's grassroots. Hello?
Okay, we didn't hear you.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah, start over, please.
Yes. Michael Casaraci is my running mate. He's an economist. He's got a doctorate in business administration. I need somebody who, by the Constitution, the vice president is in charge of the economy and the sort of the resetting of Nigeria's economy, and I like him for that. My cabinet would be young and active, people who have done things in the environment in which I would put them into the ministries. If you're a doctor, you'd be in health, or have some kind of healthcare background. If you are a lawyer, you go into the justice. I wouldn't put a lawyer into power or any of the other things that I've seen in this last administration has been laughable. 50%, and I want to promise this, women are 50% of our population, and they gave birth to the other 50%. And I would like my administration to reflect that very strong, very Nigerian thing, that women are part of our economy. And our women globally have outshone the men in many ways in all sort of government agencies or NGOs or world bodies. And they deserve to be in power at home. And certainly not just a woman because she's a woman, but certainly we have some bright souls, amazing women in every field. And I'd want to reflect that in everything my administration does.
All right, we have to let you go here. What are your final words to Nigerians who are listening to you this morning? Because many would say they haven't heard of YPP. So what would you like them to do this morning if they've heard from you?
I think the most important thing you can do is to do the research, to look at what we've done, to look at who the party is. We're not tied to anybody, so we have the people's work to do. Our motto is service to the people for the greater Nigeria. And I believe that if you look at my background, it's very varied, from music to sports to the military to power. I'm a small boy in Nigeria. I'm 59 in December. I've done a lot. I'm probably better known outside this country than I am inside. But my pedigree, my antecedents, and my business acumen and awards should be able to tell Nigeria that, look, just like in anything that we do, whether it's our music or our sports, Nigerians rise to the top. But Nigerians need to give Nigerians a chance to get this country back. Right. And people like myself, and especially the young people of this country, need to take control.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you on the show. And we wish you all the best in the coming
elections. Thank you very much.